If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my story of shadows and secrets from. I want to know how far it has reached. Imagine this. Your grandmother in the heart of America's breadbasket, the vast Kansas plains stretching out like an endless golden sea under a wide blue sky. You've got your morning coffee in hand, the aroma of fresh-baked biscuits filling your cozy kitchen, and you think life is as steady and predictable as the changing seasons on the farm. Then, your phone buzzes on the counter with a text from your son, the trucker out on those long, lonely highways. "Mom, something strange is happening. I just saw Clara pumping gas at a rest stop in Vegas. She's with some rich-looking guy in a fancy convertible." Your heart stops cold, like a sudden frost in spring, because at that very moment, you can hear Clara, your daughter-in-law, upstairs in the shower, humming an old country tune as the water runs. How can one woman be in two places at once? That's impossible, right? Or is it? Welcome to Shadows in the Heartland, a true story of deception, identical twins, gambling addictions, illicit affairs, and the kind of family redemption that only comes after the storm has passed. This tale will twist your gut, make you question every little inconsistency in the people you love, and remind you that sometimes the deepest secrets are hiding right under your own roof. Buckle up, folks. This one's going to take you on a ride through the dusty roads of rural Kansas, where trust is as fragile as a wheat stalk in the wind. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready for the truth to unfold like a tornado tearing through the prairie. My name is Margaret Thompson, a 68-year-old widow living on an old family farm in the rolling plains of rural Kansas, where the horizon seems to go on forever, and the only sounds at dawn are the crows of roosters and the distant hum of tractors. Life here is simple, tied to the land and the seasons, but it's also full of quiet joys and hidden sorrows. My husband Earl was the heart of this place, a tall, strong man with hands roughened by decades of tilling soil, fixing machinery, and building a life for us from nothing but hard work and love. He passed away 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack while out mending the wire fences in the back 40 acres, leaving a hole in my world that no amount of time has fully filled. Earl was the kind of man who could fix anything with a wrench and a prayer, and he taught our 2 sons everything they know about honesty, perseverance, and family. David, our eldest, is 38 now, a sturdy farmer like his father, with broad shoulders and a quiet determination that keeps the farm running through droughts, floods, and everything in between. He's the one who stayed home, taking over the operations after Earl's death, plowing the fields, harvesting the wheat, and worrying about grain prices at the local co-op. Then there's Luke, our younger son at 35, who chose a different path, the open road as a long-haul truck driver, hauling loads across the country, from the cornfields of Iowa to the deserts of Arizona. Luke's always been the dreamer, sending me postcards from truck stops and calling with stories of sunrises over the Rockies or quirky diners in small towns. He's my connection to the wider world beyond our little corner of Kansas. David married Clara 7 years ago in a beautiful ceremony at the local Methodist church, the one with the white steeple that stands tall against the flat landscape like a beacon for lost souls. Clara was 28 then, a vibrant young woman with wavy brown hair, green eyes that sparkled with life, and a smile that could light up the darkest barn. She came from a modest family in a nearby town, not wealthy, but hardworking, and she fit right into our life like she was meant to be here. She learned the farm routines quickly, milking the cows at dawn, tending the vegetable garden, baking those apple pies that won blue ribbons at the county fair every year. And then there's our grandson Ben, now 6 years old, a bundle of energy with his father's blue eyes and his mother's curious spirit. Ben's the light of my days, running through the fields, chasing fireflies in summer, helping me feed the chickens, or curling up on my lap for stories about cowboys and adventures on the prairie. Clara has always been the ideal mother to him, or so it seemed, doting, patient, singing lullabies like Hush Little Baby to lull him to sleep on stormy nights. I thought we had the perfect family, the kind you see in old country songs, where love and hard work conquer all. But as I've learned, perfection is often just an illusion, a thin veil hiding the shadows beneath. It all started on a crisp Tuesday morning in late spring, the kind of day where the air smells of fresh earth and promise, and the wheat fields are just starting to turn golden under the sun. I was in the kitchen, my domain since Earl and I first moved into this old farmhouse 45 years ago. The counters were worn from years of rolling dough and chopping vegetables, the sink overlooking the backyard where the clothesline swayed gently in the breeze. David had left at first light, his boots thudding on the porch as he headed to the barn to check the tractor. Harvest was approaching, and he wanted everything in working order, from the blades to the engine belts. Ben had been bundled off to school on the yellow bus that stops at the end of our long gravel driveway, his little face pressed against the window as he waved goodbye. Clara's voice drifted down from upstairs, soft and melodic. "Mom, I'm jumping in the shower quick. You need me to grab anything from town later? Maybe some thread for that quilt you're working on, or fresh milk from the dairy." "No, honey, I'm all set," I replied, smiling as I stacked the clean plates in the cupboard. Clara had become like a daughter to me, helping with the household chores, sharing laughs over coffee, and even joining me for quilting bees at the church. The water started running upstairs, that familiar rush through the pipes that echoed through the old house. Everything felt normal, the rhythm of farm life flowing as it always had. Then my cell phone buzzed on the counter, vibrating against the wood. It was Luke, my road warrior, probably calling from some truck stop with black coffee and a tale to tell. I wiped my hands on my floral apron, the one Earl gave me for our 30th anniversary, and answered. "Hey, son. Good to hear from you. Where are you hauling to today?" Luke's voice came through, youthful and energetic, but with a note of confusion that made me pause. "Mom, I'm at a rest stop just outside Las Vegas, Nevada, grabbing some fuel and a bite. But listen, something really weird just happened. I swear I saw Clara at the pump next to me. She was filling up this shiny red convertible, and there was this guy in the passenger seat. Looked like a big shot, suit, tie, fancy watch. She even waved at me like she knew me, but then she drove off quick. I got a photo, sending it now." My heart skipped a beat, then started racing like a frightened horse. I glanced up the stairs. The shower was still going, the water pattering steadily. "Luke, that can't be right. Clara's upstairs right now getting ready for the day. You must have seen someone who looks a lot like her. People have lookalikes, you know, especially with all the travelers you see on the road." The photo pinged through, and I opened it with trembling fingers. There she was, or someone who looked exactly like her. Clara's face, her wavy hair pulled back in a ponytail, leaning against a car at a dusty gas station, the Nevada sun glinting off the red paint. The man in the car had that polished look, like he belonged in a high-roller suite, not our humble farm. The timestamp was just minutes ago. "Mom, zoom in on her necklace," Luke said. "That's the silver cross David gave her for their anniversary." And I called out Clara. She turned, looked right at me with a startled expression, then peeled out. "I'm telling you, it's her. What's going on back home?" I tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky, like wind rattling loose shutters. "Son, you've been driving too long without sleep. Clara made breakfast this morning, scrambled eggs and toast, Ben's favorites. She's been here all day. Maybe it's a coincidence or one of those doppelganger things you hear about on those radio shows you listen to. But Luke's voice was firm, full of that stubborn streak he got from Earl. Mom, I'm not imagining this. That guy looked like trouble. Casino type, maybe. Just be careful, okay? I'll check in later when I hit Utah. I hung up, my hands cold despite the warm kitchen. The shower shut off upstairs, and Clara's footsteps creaked on the floorboards as she moved around the bedroom. She came down a few minutes later, hair damp and curly, wearing her everyday jeans and a plaid button-up shirt, the one with the frayed collar from years of washings. Who was on the phone, Mom? You look a bit shaken. Everything all right with Luke? Just him checking in from the road, I said, forcing a smile that felt plastered on. Says hi to everyone, including you. She nodded, grabbing her wicker basket from the hook by the door. I'm running to the market for some fresh produce and that pie filling you like. Be back soon. Want me to grab some yarn for your knitting? Sure, honey. Drive safe. The roads can be slick after last night's rain. I watched her truck rumble down the driveway, dust clouding behind it like a smoke screen. My mind was a whirlwind. Luke wasn't the type to make things up. He's as honest as the day is long. Always has been since he was a boy confessing to breaking a window with his baseball. But Clara had been right here, in the flesh, talking to me just minutes ago. Could there be a mistake? Or was something darker at play? Something I couldn't yet see. That afternoon, as the sun climbed high and turned the fields into a sea of shimmering gold, I couldn't shake the unease. I sat on the front porch swing, the chains creaking with each gentle push, sipping iced tea from a mason jar, beaded with condensation. The swing was Earl's favorite spot. He'd sit there after a long day, whittling wood or telling stories about his grandfather homesteading this land in the 1800s. Now it was my place to think, to watch the world go by on the county road. But today, my thoughts were tangled like barbed wire. Little inconsistencies I'd ignored before started surfacing, sharp and insistent. For instance, Clara's handwriting. Some days it's neat and looping, like calligraphy on a wedding invitation when she writes the grocery list or notes for David. Other days it's scratchy and slanted, almost illegible, as if written in haste. I joked about it once over breakfast. Becoming ambidextrous in your spare time, Clara? She chuckled and said she was experimenting to keep her brain sharp, like those puzzles in the newspaper. Then there were her moods, flipping like Kansas weather. One moment sunny and warm, the next stormy and cold. Yesterday she was all tenderness, helping Ben with his homework, praising his every answer and tucking him in with kisses and that lullaby. Today, if Luke's photo was any indication, something was off. I'd blamed her occasional snappiness on the demands of farm life, the early mornings, the endless chores, the worry about crop yields and bills. But now, with this impossible sighting, it felt like the pieces of a puzzle were scattered, and I was just starting to see the picture. When Ben got home from school, the bus dropping him off in a puff of dust, he ran up the porch steps, backpack bouncing like a live thing. "Grandma, look at this drawing I made in art class. It's our farm." He thrust a colorful page at me, crayons depicting a red barn, stick figure family, and a big yellow sun smiling down. "That's wonderful, Ben. Tell Grandma who's who in the picture." He pointed with a grubby finger. "That's Dad on the tractor, chugging through the fields like vroom vroom. That's you in the kitchen, baking cookies that smell so yummy. And that's Mom. But which Mom, Grandma?" I nearly spilled my tea, the glass clinking against the armrest. "What do you mean, which Mom, sweetie?" He shrugged, scuffing his shoe on the wood planks. Sometimes Mom's really nice, like when she helps me build forts with blankets and reads me stories about trucks and diggers. She hugs me tight and says I'm her little hero. Other times, she's grumpy, tells me to play outside alone or do my homework by myself, and doesn't smile much. Like two different moms, one happy, one mad. His words landed like hail on tender crops, bruising my heart. Kids see things adults miss, their eyes unclouded by assumptions. I pulled him into a hug, his small body warm against mine, smelling of school glue and playground dirt. Your mom's just got a lot on her mind sometimes, Ben. We all do. Farm life isn't easy, but she loves you more than the stars in the sky. Clara returned from the market as the sun dipped lower, her basket overflowing with ripe tomatoes, ears of corn still in their husks, and the can of pie filling I'd requested. She held the basket in her left hand, which struck me as odd. I could swear she was right-handed from the way she stirred pots or wrote lists. "Dinner's going to be special tonight, Mom. Roast chicken with all the fixings, just like Earl used to love on Sundays." I nodded, but my eyes lingered on her hands as she unpacked, the way she gripped the knife with her left to slice the vegetables. "Sounds perfect, honey." Ben's excited. He showed me his drawing from school. That evening, as we gathered around the oak dining table that Earl had built with his own hands from wood he cut on the property, the atmosphere was cozy but tinged with my growing doubt. David carved the chicken, steam rising in savory curls, while Ben chattered about his day, recounting how he scored a goal in recess kickball. Clara served the plates, her movements efficient but distant, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Then the doorbell rang. Mrs. Hargrove, our neighbor from the adjoining farm, standing there with a plate of sugar cookies wrapped in foil, her face lined with years of sun and worry. "Margaret, I thought I'd bring these over. Bake too many for the church bake sale tomorrow. Your Clara is such a sweetheart. Yesterday, she pulled over on the road and chatted with me for 20 minutes about my grandkids and how the new baby is doing. But today, when I saw her driving back from town, I waved from my porch and she didn't even glance my way, like I was a ghost or something. Is everything all right with her?" Clara chuckled from the table, but it sounded forced, like wind through dry leaves. "Oh, Mrs. Hargrove, I must have been daydreaming about this dinner. Sorry if I seemed rude. Come in for a slice of chicken?" Mrs. Hargrove declined politely, handing me the cookies and shuffling back across the field as the sun set in a blaze of orange. David frowned over his plate, fork paused midway. "You all right, Clara? You've been a bit scattered lately. One day all talkative with the neighbors, the next quiet as a mouse." "I'm fine," she replied, a bit sharper than usual, then softened with a smile. "Just the heat getting to me, I guess. Summer in Kansas can be brutal with the humidity and all." I didn't say anything, but that night, as the crickets chirped a symphony outside my bedroom window and the moon cast silver light over the barns and silos, I couldn't sleep. The wind howled through the eaves, rattling the shutters like restless spirits, and Luke's photo kept replaying in my mind, a haunting image that wouldn't fade. If Clara was here, cooking dinner and tucking Ben in, who was the woman in Vegas with the mysterious man? And if that was Clara in the photo, who had been living in my house, sharing our meals, our lives? The next morning, I rose with the sun, the sky a soft pink as I made coffee in the quiet kitchen. The aroma filled the air, grounding me as I flipped through my old journal, a leather-bound book Earl used for tracking crop yields, rainfall amounts, and notes on soil quality. Now I used it to jot down my suspicions, my hand shaking as I wrote, "Tuesday, Clara uses left hand for chopping veggies. Mood distant. Snapped at David. Forgot to read Ben his bedtime story. Said she was tired. Wednesday. Right hand for writing the shopping list on the fridge. Sang Hush Little Baby to Ben, tender and loving, like the Clara I know. It felt foolish at first, like I was playing detective in my own home. But the entries grew, each one a small clue in a mystery I didn't want to solve. Ben came down for breakfast, his hair tousled, rubbing his eyes. "Grandma, Mom signed my school note today, but her writing looked funny, all wobbly. Not pretty like yesterday when she helped with my spelling words." The teacher's note arrived later that week, pinned to Ben's backpack. "Dear Mrs. Thompson, Ben did great on his math practice yesterday. Your daughter-in-law's handwriting on the sheet was beautiful and clear, really helped him. Today, he said she couldn't assist, and when he tried to show her, the writing looked quite different. Just a heads up if she's feeling under the weather." I showed it to Clara over lunch, keeping my tone light. "Ben's teacher mentioned you're helping with homework. Said your writing changes styles. That's interesting. Like you're an artist with pens?" She paused, her fork hovering, then laughed it off. "Oh yeah, just experimenting with different grips to avoid cramps from all the list making. Keeps things fun around here." But her eyes avoided mine, glancing out the window instead. And that was the moment the doubt rooted deeper, like weeds in fertile soil. Later that day, I stopped by the local bakery in town, the one with the bell that jingled cheerfully and the smell of fresh bread that could make your mouth water from a block away. Mr. Ellis, the owner with the flour-dusted apron and a mustache like a broom, pulled me aside as I bought a loaf of sourdough. "Margaret, your Clara was in yesterday raving about my new rye recipe, chatting for 10 minutes about baking tips and how she'd try it at home. But this morning, she came in, grabbed a baguette, paid, and left without a word. Looked like she had the weight of the world on her shoulders. Everything okay at the farm?" I muttered something about the busy season, thanked him, and hurried out, my purse clutched tight like a shield. By now, the unease was a constant companion, whispering in my ear with every odd glance or changed habit. I needed to talk to someone before it consumed me. That afternoon, I called Betty, my best friend since high school days when we gig frogs in the creek and dream about marrying handsome farmers. She's a no-nonsense widow herself, living on a small spread a few miles down the road, with a laugh that booms like thunder and advice as straight as a furrow. "Betty, I need to meet. Something's off with Clara, and it's eating me up inside." We met at the diner on Main Street, the one with the red vinyl booths, the jukebox playing old Johnny Cash tunes, and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. I slid into the booth, ordered black coffee and a slice of pecan pie, and spilled it all. Luke's text and photo, the hand switching, the mood swings, Ben's innocent comments about which mom, the neighbor's observations like Mrs. Hargrove's wave being ignored. Betty listened, her eyes narrowing over her mug, steam rising like smoke signals. "Margaret, this ain't just stress or the heat. Sounds like Clara's got a double life going on. Maybe that guy in the photo is part of it. You gotta follow her next time she heads out, see where she really goes. Trust that mother's instinct of yours. You've got it sharp as a sickle after raising those boys through blizzards, bankruptcies, and everything else after Earl passed. Don't let this fester. Get to the bottom of it for David and Ben's sake." I nodded, my throat tight with a mix of fear and resolve. The idea of spying on my own daughter-in-law felt wrong, like betraying the family bond. But Betty was right. The shadows were lengthening, and I had to shine a light before they swallowed us whole. The chance came that Saturday, a hot, humid day where the air hung heavy and the cicadas buzzed like an electric current. David was out in the fields, repairing the irrigation system before a predicted thunderstorm. his shirt soaked with sweat as he wrestled with pipes and valves. Ben was at a play date with the Hargrove grandkids, chasing butterflies and playing tag in their big yard. Clara grabbed her red wicker basket, the one with the worn handle from years of market trips. "Heading to the market for milk and eggs, Mom. Need anything else? Maybe some flour for biscuits or those herbs for the garden?" "No, honey, that's all. Be safe. The roads might be busy with weekend traffic." I smiled and waved as she drove off, but as soon as her truck disappeared in a cloud of dust, I grabbed my keys, my old straw hat to shade my face, and followed in my pickup, keeping a safe distance on the winding county road lined with fences and grazing cows. My heart pounded like a drum at a hoedown, hands sweaty on the wheel. She didn't turn right toward town and the market. Instead, she veered left onto a bumpy side road leading to Prairie View Estates, the trailer park on the outskirts, a sad collection of rusty mobile homes, overgrown yards, chain-link fences topped with barbed wire, and laundry flapping on lines like flags of surrender. I parked behind a rusted semi-truck, out of sight, and watched as she pulled up to a faded blue trailer with peeling paint and a screen door hanging askew. She knocked 3 times, glanced around nervously, then slipped inside when the door opened. My breath caught. What was my daughter-in-law doing in a place like this? This wasn't the market, not a friend's house she'd ever mentioned, not anywhere a farm wife like Clara belonged. I sat there for what felt like hours, the trick cab heating up like an oven, my mind racing with possibilities. Was she helping someone in need, like the church charity work she sometimes did? Or was it something more sinister, tied to Luke's photo and the man in Vegas? My phone buzzed. Luke again, texting from the road. "Mom, another sighting. Billboards in Vegas show her face? No, wait, a social media post or something. Hang on, sending pic. She's with that guy, checking into a hotel called the Mirage. Fancy place with fountains and lights." The photo showed Clara, or her double, arm in arm with the suited man, laughing under neon signs, the kind of glamour that didn't belong in our world of dirt roads and early mornings. I snapped my own photo through the trailer's grimy window, zooming in on the interior where I glimpsed 2 women who looked identical. One in Clara's floral dress, the other in casual sweats, talking animatedly. Twins? The word hit me like a thunderclap, explaining everything and nothing all at once. I couldn't confront her there, not without more proof, so I drove home, my mind a storm of questions, arriving just as Clara pulled in, now wearing a blue blouse instead of the white one she'd left in. "Change clothes, honey? That floral dress looked nice this morning." "Spilled coffee on it at the market," she said quickly, too quickly, her eyes not meeting mine as she unloaded the basket. That night, Ben came to my room after dinner. His pajamas rumbled, tears streaking his cheeks. "Grandma, Mom yelled at me for dropping my toy truck on the floor. It was an accident, but she said I'm clumsy. But yesterday she played trucks with me for hours and laughed when I made engine noises. Vroom, vroom." I rocked him in my arms, whispering comforts, but inside I was burning with anger and confusion. "Your mom was just tired from the day, sweetie. She loves you so much. Tomorrow will be better." But as he drifted off, his head on my shoulder, I knew tomorrow might bring more shadows. That night, sleepless under the quilt Earl and I made on our honeymoon, I wrote in the journal, "Could there be 2 Claras? God help us if it's true." The next morning, I decided to return to the trailer park, armed with a family photo from the living room wall, David and Clara on their wedding day, all smiles, with baby Ben in their arms. The alley was the same, silent and somber, the air thick with the smell of charcoal from a nearby grill. I knocked on the blue door, my knuckles white, heart in my throat. The door opened, and there she was, a woman with Clara's face, but eyes filled with fear, clutching a cleaning rag like a lifeline. "Who are you? What do you want?" "I'm Margaret Thompson, Clara's mother-in-law. I need answers, now." She tried to shut the door, but her roommate, a thin woman with a bun and a kind but firm expression, stepped in. "Let her in, Elena. It's time the truth came out." Inside the trailer, the air was stuffy, the walls stained, the floor cracked concrete. An old man coughed from a cot in the corner, covered with a frayed blanket. I sat on a rickety chair, gripping the photo. "Explain why you look exactly like my daughter-in-law and why you've been in my house." The woman, Elena, lowered her head, tears welling. "I'm sorry. I'm not Clara. I'm Elena, her twin sister. We were separated at birth. Our parents were poor. Couldn't keep both. Clara found me a few years ago at a market, saw the resemblance, and offered me money to pretend to be her when she needed to be away. I didn't want to, but my adoptive parents are sick, and the money buys medicine, food." The roommate, Lucy, poured water from a plastic jug and explained further. "Clara's been using Elena as a double to cover her trips to Vegas, where she's got a gambling habit and an affair with a high roller named Victor Hayes. I overheard them once at a coffee shop, calling each other honey, planning weekends away. Elena waits in the car, not knowing the full story, just doing what she's paid for." The name Victor Hayes matched the man in Luke's photos, and it all clicked. The hand changes, Elena left-handed, Clara right. The mood swings, Elena kinder, Clara colder. The inconsistencies that had plagued me. My world spun, but I steadied myself. "Elena, do you know where Clara goes? What she does when you're playing her role?" She shook her head, sobbing. "No, ma'am. She just says stay in the house, go to the market, care for Ben, act normal. The money saves my family. I didn't think about the hurt." I left the trailer, the sun blinding but my heart cold. The next days were a blur of planning. I called Luke home, gathered evidence like passport copies from Clara's drawer showing trips to Vegas, and prepared for the confrontation. That night, I set the table with our best china, lit candles, cooked chili and fish. The family gathered, unsuspecting. Then Luke arrived with Elena in tow. The room fell silent as they saw the identical faces. Ben asked innocently, "Why are there two moms?" David paled. Clara shouted, "What is this?" I stood, voice firm. "The truth, Clara. Luke saw you in Vegas while you were here. The changes, the moods, it's Elena, your twin, covering for you. Luke laid out the passport stamps, photos. Lucy shared the affair details. Clara denied, then broke. Yes, I'm sick of this life. Victor gives me luxury, thrills. You all are nothing." David crumbled. Divorce papers followed. Clara left without a backward glance. Elena stayed, her gentleness healing the wounds. She and David bonded over shared pain, married under the oaks, then calls her mom. The farm flourishes. Truth set us free.